Malcolm Jamal Warner wasn't just another Hollywood success story. He was the protector, the silent anchor behind the scenes, and now he's gone. But what Raven-Symoné just revealed shattered the illusion we all believed.
You thought this was just another celeb gone too soon. Nah, what Raven-Symoné just dropped, it'll stomp on your soul. Seconds after news hit about Malcolm Jamal Warner's abrupt death, Hollywood hit mute. No tributes, no truth, just eerie silence and heartbreak. Then Raven stepped in, and baby, what she said didn't just make noise, it detonated online. In a gut-wrenching, tear-soaked voice memo sent to a close friend, Raven spilled the version of Malcolm we never got. The man who beamed for the red carpet but battled demons, in the dark. The protector who carried everybody's pain while no one even asked if he was drowning. He was soft, she said, so tender, we missed the cracks. And that's the gut punch. This wasn't some Hollywood farewell. This was a confession dipped in sorrow. The goodbye she never had the strength or time to say. She didn't remember him as Theo, not as some primetime icon, but as her personal superhero, the big brother who shielded her when she was just a frightened little girl on The Cosby Show. The one who stayed solid even after the cameras stopped rolling. Raven-Symoné confessed she missed the red flags. Honestly, so did everyone else. No dramatic breakdowns, no desperate pleas, just a man fading behind a fake smile, convincing the world he was fine. Now fans are left screaming, how did we all miss this? But maybe that's the catch. Maybe Malcolm Jamal Warner didn't want to be seen. Maybe the strongest ones disappear the quietest. And now, the pain. It's not just that he's gone, it's that he took every burden with him in silence. That's the weight Raven had been swallowing. And after hearing her truth, you'll never unsee the sadness behind his smile. You know, those deaths that slap harder than expected. Yeah, this one wrecked the internet. When news dropped that Malcolm Jamal Warner had passed, time hit pause. And no, it wasn't because of the headlines. There weren't any. No media circus, no clickbait drama, just a cold, vague announcement. No cause, no memorial, no last goodbye, just ... vanished. Then, out of nowhere, days later, Raven cracked the silence. And what came out? It didn't just shake the timeline, it shattered it. This wasn't some polished Instagram eulogy. This wasn't your PR filtered rest in peace post. It was raw. It was jagged. It was messy. A voice memo, dripping in pain, and every syllable carried the weight of guilt. You could feel it in her voice. That wasn't just mourning. She wasn't just mourning. She wasn't just mourning. She was confessing. I didn't see it, she whispered. I should have seen it. And just like that, the carefully curated image of Malcolm Jamal Warner, poised, peaceful, forever grinning, came crashing down. Because for the very first time, someone in his inner circle dared to say the thing no one wanted to believe. Malcolm was in pain. And nobody had a clue. Back then, they weren't just co-stars, they were a makeshift family. Not by blood, but by the raw kind of closeness you forge in the chaos of TV fame. With lights flashing and pressure mounting between takes, Raven-Symoné, just a tiny newcomer on The Cosby Show, wide-eyed, anxious, spinning in nerves. And Malcolm, already the teen dream, already that Theo Huxtable magic, that magnetic calm, that low-key glow. He could have brushed her off, like most stars do, but he didn't. He made me feel safe, Raven shared. He didn't say much, but he saw me. And that line, it smacked fans right in the chest. Because what do you do when the person who notices everyone ends up invisible themselves? After the show wrapped, the world moved on. Raven, she became a household name, pop hits, Disney queen, talk show firebrand, activist icon. She glowed. But Malcolm, he retreated into the background, quietly, deliberately. No scandals, no messy headlines, no tabloid chaos, just jazz sessions, poetry books, low-key directing gigs, fatherhood goals, the whole peaceful artist aesthetic. At least, that's what it looked like. But underneath that perfectly curated calm, something even Raven-Symoné didn't clock until it was far too late. Malcolm was a pro at one thing: masking pain. He grinned in interviews, dropped feel-good vibes on socials, shared deep quotes, served up daily doses of positivity like a guru. The man looked like he was winning, but according to Raven and now a growing circle of insiders, those grins not always real. He carried everyone's burdens, Raven revealed, but nobody ever asked if he was breaking. And just like that, the internet snapped. That one line cracked open the darkest, most uncomfortable question. What was hiding behind the curtain? No gossip. No health drama. No spiraling. Just days before he passed, Malcolm Jamal Warner was spotted out with his daughter cheerful, even chatting about his big return to TV. New scripts were in motion. A poetry series was bubbling. He was mid-moderation, mentoring a rising black filmmaker, laying down foundations for something meaningful, and then just like that he vanished. No warning, no explanation, not even a whisper for help. So, what really happened? That's the storm, Raven-Symoné's message unleashed. Not closey, just a tidal wave of raw, gut-wrenching questions no one's ready to answer. She spoke of his softness, the way his voice never rose, how he never made it about himself, how he quietly held everyone else together like it was his full-time job. He was so gentle, she said, voice cracking, so gentle, we forgot he needed someone to hold him. And that line, that one stung, because how often do we glance at the quiet ones, the grounded ones, and just assume they're good? How often do we say, he's got it, he's solid, he's built for pressure, until one day, they're not. Raven didn't ramble in her tribute. She didn't need to. Sometimes, it's the silences that slap the hardest. Every pause, every tremble, every regretful, I should've, or I wish I had, hit like a freight train to the soul, too. Sometimes, it's the silences that slap the hardest. Every pause, every tremble, every regretful, I should've, or I wish, I had hit like a freight train to the soul. She wasn't just grieving him. She was grieving the void between them. Because here's the twist no one saw coming. Raven-Symoné did try to reconnect. Insiders confirmed it. A few years back, she sent him a simple check-in. No dramatic monologue, just a soft, hey, how are you? He replied briefly, warmly, but then life barged in. Schedules clashed. Work piled up. Time zones interfered. And like too many half-finished threads, the convo died before it even lived. Now, that silence is eternal. BoF fans went wild online. This one cuts deep. He was my childhood, and he was suffering in silence. Raven's voice shattered me. How do you wear a smile when your soul is sinking? But then amidst the digital heartbreak, something spooky surfaced. People started rifling through Malcolm Jamal Warner's old poetry, and what they uncovered wasn't just creativity. It was raw. It was bleeding. It was him. One poem from 2021 whispered, I play the role of peace, while, inside, I scream quiet truths, but no one listens to the calm. That's what the poem said. And back then, folks scrolled right past it, but now, it reads like a damn farewell letter. Another gut-punching line went, if I vanish, know that I smiled for you. Not because I was okay, but because I didn't want you to worry. Fans were floored. This wasn't just poetry, it was a silent SOS, a flashing red warning wrapped in pretty words, and still, no answers, no cause of death, no coroner's report, no family response, nothing, just this crushing, echoing silence. And now, that silence feels deafening. A crew member from a recent project broke the code of hush, anonymously saying, Malcolm was sweet, driven, but distant. He'd flash that smile and say, all's well, even when it clearly wasn't. That single quote triggered a tidal wave of comments. That's exactly how my brother acted before he ended it all. That's what depression does, it wears a mask. Because the strong ones, they never wave the white flag. They just fade, quietly. That's exactly why they terrify me the most, the ones who seem unbreakable. Because this wasn't just a loss, it was a red flag flapping in our faces. Raven-Symoné didn't send out a typical tribute to a cluster. No. Her message sounded more like a confession to a brother, a cry from someone who missed the signals flashing right in front of her, and maybe, just maybe, a desperate warning to the rest of us. Wake up, because no one saw it coming. Everyone assumed he was thriving, but sometimes, the person who looks the most in control is actually unraveling the fastest. Raven's voice cracked when she remembered his words. They'll only care when it's too late. And now, those words hit like a curse fulfilled. Because the second Malcolm Jamal Warner's death broke online, emotions erupted. But not from TMZ, not from Hollywood. It came from Usta fans, the people who grew up with him, who felt held together by his smile, his steady energy. But under all that calm, pure storm, Raven knew more than she ever let on. In that same raw voice memo, she dropped a bomb no one, not even his closest circle, was ready for. Malcolm hadn't been okay. Not for a very, very long time. She stopped talking. then dropped the line that shattered everything. The worst part, he hid it from everyone, even me. She said there were red flags, weird messages, random disappearances, complete silence for weeks. Then he'd pop back, up like nothing happened. People brushed it off as Hollywood phases, but Raven-Symoné, she now knows better. It wasn't mood swings, it was something darker, something that clawed at him quietly. Because just days before his death, Malcolm Jamal Warner called her, timestamp, 3:17 a.m., and all he said was, "Ray, I'm tired." She asked, "Tired of what?" But he didn't answer. He just let out a sigh and the line cut. That was it. No callback, no second chance. And now, with her voice shaking in that leaked recording, Raven said it straight, "I think." That was his goodbye. Just sit with that. He didn't beg for help. He didn't chase pity. He just let go. And while the internet filled with loving rips, Raven was drowning in guilt. Because once upon a time, she made a promise, swore that if anything ever felt off, she'd show up. She just never imagined off meant the end. And then came the part that stung the most. A private voicemail sat untouched on her phone, just 9 seconds long. Left before the world knew he was gone. His voice, faint and trembling, said, "I love you, Ray, always did. Take care of them. You know who I mean. Take care of who?" She replayed that message hundreds of times, obsessing over every syllable. And then boom, it clicked. She remembered something buried deep from years ago. Backstage at a reunion taping, Malcolm Jamal Warner had pulled her close and whispered, "One day I'm going to vanish. And when I do, tell them I never stopped loving them." She laughed it off, thought he was being dramatic, poetic as usual. But now, every word hits like a goodbye written in slow motion. Raven-Symoné held it together for days, but when she walked into that quiet, press-free memorial, no flashes, no speeches, just stillness, she broke hard. During the final prayer, she collapsed. People around her assumed it was grief, just normal heartbreak. But it wasn't just that, it was everything. The voicemail, the memories, the missed signs, the farewell hidden in plain sight. It was regretra, choking, and absolutely unforgiving. Because despite the fame, the trophies, the adoration, Malcolm Jamal Warner died carrying secrets. And now, Raven-Symoné is the last one standing who holds the real story. And it's darker than anyone imagined. According to insiders close to the family, Malcolm kept a private journal locked, buried deep in his home, only found after he passed. And what it exposed sent shockwaves through the entire entertainment industry. Page after page, Malcolm documented a brutal inner war, the pressure to be flawless, the fear of vanishing into irrelevance, the pain of being exploited and discarded. Like yesterday's script, one haunting page read, "They remember Theo, but they don't remember me. I'm not a man to the mime nostalgia. A rerun, a punchline, a ghost in a laugh track. They look at me like I'm part of some museum tour, but I'm screaming inside and no one even flinches." That's when Raven made a move that left the family stunned. She leaked one page to the public. Just one page, and it detonated the internet, because in that page, Malcolm Jamal Warner didn't lash out, he bled. He named names not with rage, but with heartbreak. He wrote, "I saw Lisa once. She looked straight through me. I ran into Kesha," she said. "Oh wow, I forgot you were still around. I texted Cosby last year. No reply, didn't expect one. I think I became a ghost before I ever died." And that's when reality slapped the world in the face. Malcolm didn't vanish. He was erased while still breathing. And how do you live through that? How do you carry the weight of an entire nation's nostalgia while crumbling from the inside out? Simple. You don't. And Malcolm didn't. Raven-Symoné's post of that journal page exploded 20 million views in just 6 hours. Celebs came flooding in. Oprah, Taraji, Zendaya, even Donald Glover dropped a heartbreaking tribute. "He walked so we could exist and we let him walk alone." Within hours, the Emmys scrambled to announce a posthumous tribute. Netflix dropped a full-blown Warner retrospective. The Cosby Show trended worldwide, not for laughs, but for the devastating silence surrounding its beloved golden boy. But for Raven-Symoné, no flashy tribute could ever glue the pieces back together. She closed her message with a line that gutted the internet. "I wasn't just his friend, I was his last line, and I missed the call." That quote took on a life of its own, etched into fan art, inked into morning skin, turned into a battle cry for those suffering in silence. I missed the call. Wasn't just her pain, that it was ours, the fans, the press, the machine, all of us who cheered, laughed, and looked away while Malcolm was fading in plain sight. And now it's way too late to respond. His memorial wasn't meant to be this messy, but then again, nothing about his final chapter was clean. The chapel was packed, celebrities, family, childhood co-stars, even producers who once banked on that signature smile, but the air, off, heavy. No one could lock eyes. Everyone acted like they hadn't heard what Raven-Symoné had just dropped on the world, just days before. And still, whispers floated through the chapel like smoke. No one wanted to breathe. Someone stormed out, visibly shaken. Another refused to say a single word. Lisa Bell had to be escorted out before the memorial even began, hands trembling, lips quivering. She leaned in and mouthed to a friend, "It was all true." But what, exactly, was true? That's when the screen lit up. Footage began rolling. Never before. Moments from behind the scenes, Malcolm Jamal Warner, pacing, withdrawn, zoned out, flashing a smile for the lens, then going cold the moment he thought no one was looking. Then came the voicemail, his voice, raw and broken. "I don't know how much longer I can fake it. I smile, and they all believe I'm okay. But I'm drowning." Every day, the room froze. The air turned to stone. Even the cameraman stopped breathing. This wasn't a tribute, it was a cry for help he left behind like a warning flare, a breadcrumb trail he hoped anyone would trace before it was too late. But no one ever did. And now, they were watching his pain on screen, in real time, long after they could have done a damn thing about it. The industry, built on glitz and illusion, was suddenly exposed, raw and hypocritical. The same networks that once paraded Malcolm Jamal Warner as their golden boy had flat out rejected his pitches for mental health documentaries. One exec from his most iconic show allegedly told him, "Don't make it messy. People don't want sad. They want Theo." But here's the thing, he wasn't Theo anymore, and that was the heartbreak. He tried. He really tried. Tried to evolve, to grow beyond the sweet teen heartthrob America refused to let go of, but they froze him in time, and that slow freeze broke him, bit by bit. By the time Raven-Symoné wrapped up her eulogy, the chapel was wrecked. No notes, no script. She spoke straight from the wounds. "I saw him just a week before," she said, voice shaking. "He came over. We ate cereal, talked about the old days." He looked drained. I asked if he was good. He smiled, said, "Yeah, just working too much. But now, I get it." He wasn't talking about his job, he was working overtime just to hold himself together. Together. She stopped, then whispered, "I failed him." And those 3 words felt like glass exploding in a silent room. Because it wasn't just her, it was everyone. Everyone who thought he was fine. Everyone who mistook his silence for peace. Everyone who clapped for his strength but ignored the weight that came with it. Even Queen Latifah was seen dabbing tears behind dark shades. Then came the envelope, a sealed letter Malcolm had left with his lawyer stamped, "To be opened if I'm gone." No one had the stomach to touch it, but Raven-Symoné did, and what she read cracked the room in half. "I never hated anyone. I just hated how invisible I felt, how the world stopped checking in once I stopped trending. How my so-called friends forgot the kid who stayed late to help them nail their scenes. I kept asking myself, did I do something wrong? Was I no longer enough once the lights dimmed? One wish I had screamed louder, but I was just tired." Then suddenly, a gasp ripped through the back of the room. It was his extragenic, in the back pews, completely unraveling, choking on sobs she couldn't hold back. She wasn't ready for that. None of them were. Malcolm Jamal Warner ended the letter with a line that will echo for generations. "I gave the world my light, but I wish someone had checked on my shadow." Silence dropped like a curtain. Eyes darted around the chapel, scanning faces. Who else in this room is faking it right now? Someone collapsed to the floor. Another voice cracked the air. "We failed him." At that moment, this stopped being about Malcolm. It turned into a brutal mirror, the kind that shows you what you don't want to see. Media outlets rushed to label the memorial a celebration of life. But the people inside, they knew better. This wasn't celebration. This was reckoning. And it wasn't done. Just 48 hours later, a sealed court file exploded online, a leaked NDA. Turns out, Malcolm had tried to take legal action against a major TV network. Accusation, emotional abuse tied to child star exploitation. The case, settled, sealed, buried, alive. But the trauma didn't just haunt him, it hunted him. And even in death, he wasn't allowed to speak his truth. Gagged by contracts, erased by silence, but Raven-Symoné, she spoke for him. And now, the internet is on fire. Hashtags like hashtag justice for Malcolm and hashtag protect child stars are trending globally. Fans are digging through old interviews like forensic analysts. Clips once dismissed as awkward are now viewed for what they really were, desperate SOS signals, hiding in plain sight. But the damage, already done. Malcolm Jamal Warner isn't here to witness the love. He's not here to see the world finally hear him. He left this world thinking no one remembered. And that's what wrecks you, because behind every perfect smile on screen, there could be a soul silently shattering, praying just once to be seen before they slip away. If Malcolm's story screams anything, it's this. Sometimes, silence is the loudest cry. And now, as the storm finally settles, what are we left holding? Tears, scars, and a truth too damn heavy to deny. Erica tried to carry on, tried pretending the wreckage wasn't forever. You could see it in her eyes during that final interview, the cracks behind the lashes, the way her voice wavered when she whispered, "I just wanted peace. I never got peace." And boom, that one line shattered everyone watching, because it didn't matter how famous she got, how many lights followed her, every move deep down, all she ever craved was love without knives in her back. And Mendices, he disappeared. No statement, no accountability, no goodbye, just a man ghosting the disaster he lit on fire. But the streets remember, and so dosed internet, because this mess, it's no longer just reality TV drama. It's way past that. This is about control, deception, and what happens when influence is weaponized to bury the truth. Yandi, at the courthouse, face puffy, makeup wrecked, didn't have to speak. Her silence screamed. She thought she had the wheel. But when the real story landed, it crushed her too. This wasn't just a betrayal of love, it was a betrayal of legacy. Of the brand, the illusion, the whole curated fairy tale they sold to the world. And now you've seen behind the curtain, so don't scroll past in silence. If this rocked you like it rocked US Speak, hit the comments. Was this chaos always loading? Or could someone have stopped the fall? Because one thing's crystal clear, the truth always leaks. Even if you try to duct tape it with a forced grin and a scripted reunion. This saga, far from over, far from over.